All right, last point here. Raise your hand if you cried at work yesterday, because I certainly did. Philip Rivers finally announced that he was retiring. He has not, of course, has not played since 2020. There were some rumblings in 2021 and 2022 that he was maybe considering a comeback. Obviously, that did not happen. He has continued to coach his son in high school football. Gunnar is like weirdly I think he's like a 4-star recruit right now. So the comeback never happened. He apparently stayed in shape, but he has officially now announced his retirement, retiring as a Charger. He signed a contract. The part that made me lose it, man, was when the offensive linemen all came in and they were like the ones to hand him the 1-day contract. I just thought that was like such a cool touch, going to Alabama, visiting his house. And obviously it would have been cool to get him out to LA, but like the offensive lineman being the one to hand him the contract was just like awesome. So the whole video was handled so greatly. I miss watching Philip Rivers play football every single day. The man is like one of the main reasons why I am a fan of the Chargers. And very cool, obviously, that the announcement comes at this point in time. We're about to get the Gates Hall of Fame stuff. Rivers comes back to sign as a Charger. Just really, really cool and very well done by the team and from Phil, obviously.
Yeah. We'll never have a player like Philip Rivers. And I think we'll never have a person fill that spot in our hearts like Philip Rivers. I think just because of the nature of the age that we were and the milestones and the checkpoints in our lives that he was not a part of, but he was our quarterback during those moments. I mean, he was drafted when I was in 4th grade, and in a week I turned 30 and he announced his retirement this week. I mean, it's been that long that he's been in some ways like a part of our lives. And this was a player. Like, it's the first jersey I ever got. I'm rehashing something that we discussed. Our second episode ever on the Guilty as Charged podcast was an emergency podcast. We just did audio with you, me, and Jason about the Chargers separating from Philip Rivers. And it was like a mutual parting of the ways. But Rivers was like in my life when my dad and I really started to bond. Like the trips to San Diego and back, to Qualcomm and back, my dad and I were always close, but it's different when you bond with your dad over a sport that you love watching.
Yeah.
And Philip Rivers was the quarterback for most of those drives, especially just to San Diego. Like, of course, that was Philip Rivers. And I'll like never forget those moments. And, just him being the quarterback through my first any checkpoint of my life, going to high school, going to college, getting my bachelor's, a first date I've ever had, the first time I learned how to drive, getting my license, turning 18, turning 21, meeting my wife. Like there's so many checkpoints of my life where on Sundays I'm watching Philip Rivers. And so he just means, so much. And I always appreciated how he was so unafraid. Two things. Many things. So unafraid to be specifically himself and like have his clearly strong voice on the field. A guy who was so very like sure of himself, but also a guy who was just so gracious with in defeat. It could have been an awful game, and we saw some terrible things. But no matter what, you didn't hear a single bad thing about his teammates. I watched him tear up over an admirable performance by his offensive line because guys were hurt. And like Chris Hairston stepped up for the team.
Yep.
And he was like, oh man, like they just like they fought so hard for me. And they were probably terrible that game. Like, they probably got him killed.
He probably got hit a lot that day.
Killed. But this is a player, I don't remember the exact numbers, but in 2015, his leading receiver was Danny Woodhead. His leading rusher was Melvin Gordon with like 640 yards. This dude still put up, and his offensive line, 32nd in the league. Like, whatever Herbert's been dealing with, this was terrible. Worse. And the dude still put up 4,800 yards, almost 30 touchdowns, and only 13 interceptions. The third best turnover worthy play rate in the NFL that year, with that as a supporting cast. Like, he was just a force of nature. It was an honor covering him. Of course, like my first time at Bolt Beat, then being the site expert, working with you, Steven, and Alex and Jason, starting this podcast, it being our second episode as a podcast together. Just a huge part of all of our lives. And I'm so happy that he gets to do like close this chapter, and then we get to just celebrate him and whenever that happens. And turn the page. It's crazy that he retires right when about to turn 30. And again, he was our quarterback, or he was, well, traded to the Chargers in 2004 when I was 9.
Yeah, 2004, I would have been 10. My like earliest memories of, because growing up as a teenager in Utah, we didn't get to watch every Chargers game, but my earliest like memories of Philip Rivers are the games where him and Jay Cutler were just like talking shit the entire time.
Yep.
And just like crushing the Broncos, which I loved because the majority of my friends were Broncos fans.
Yeah.
Because they're the local team in Utah.
Yeah.
So I love the fact that my favorite quarterback was just smashing the Broncos and talking shit on the other quarterback.
Yeah.
Just such a unique personality. There's not many quarterbacks these days, or those days, was even less so, that were the most active yappers to, steal the day on Henley term, being a quarterback. JJ Watt had a great tweet about it, saying that he wished he took as long to recognize a blitz as he did to retire. Because Rivers, just like the back and forth with opposing defenses, was always such a highlight to see. The audio clip of him telling the other team, "You think that's a good blitz?" I love it. The audio clips of Rivers talking shit will never get old. I just love that aspect of him. I love the fact that, like, regardless of who he was throwing to, you mentioned the 2015 season, the season where he's throwing to Dontrell Inman, Tyrell Williams as a rookie, and still putting up, a 4,000-yard season. The ending of his career, that offensive line in 2019 and 2018 were really bad, like really bad. Like, you're talking about Sam Tevy starting at left tackle, and all due respect to my Utah guy, but the 2019 offensive line was horrible. He dealt with moving to LA, which was like such a volatile thing, and you didn't hear a peep about anything from Philip Rivers. And there's a lot of quarterbacks in his similar circumstances that would have complained, whether privately or publicly, about those circumstances, and you never heard it. No. And the ending press conference of him saying, "I never could have tried harder." I never once doubted that we were going to get the absolute best that Philip Rivers had, regardless of who he was playing with, regardless of who he was playing against. I knew every Sunday, Thursday, Monday that Philip Rivers was going to go out there and he was going to do the absolute best to make sure the Chargers could win those football games. And some of those teams had no business being in as many one-score games as they were, but it was all because of Philip Rivers. And, he played for some really poor coaches. He played with some really bad defenses, bad supporting cast on offense, but it didn't matter to him. All he wanted to do was go play football with his boys. Yeah. And I think that will always be his legacy to me, is that he just wanted to play football for the Chargers, and he just wanted to give his absolute best. And I will always miss and respect him because of that.
Yep. His final game with the Chargers, his offensive line was Scott Quessenberry, Dan Feeney, Michael Schofield, Trey Pipkins as a rookie, and then they had to rotate because maybe someone got hurt, Sam Tevy and Trent Scott. That was his final game with the Chargers. And I'll give him credit. Still had 281 yards and 2 touchdowns.
Yep. That's Phil, man. It just didn't matter. So he was the quarterback of my childhood. He was the quarterback of the team when we started this podcast, technically. Took me through a lot of years of my college life. So he will always be the guy that I think of most when I talk about my fandom of the Chargers. Like, when Brooke and I got married, during her speech, she was like, "I'm never gonna have to worry about Steven. Like, he's been a Chargers fan his whole life. Like, he knows how to suffer and stick with it." And it's because of Phil, man. It really is. Like, if they had moved on from Rivers or whatever when I was in college, and the Chargers were moving to LA and like all that stuff, I genuinely don't know if I would have stuck with the team. Like, Rivers helped me tie down through so much, change with the team and things like that. And I will always be grateful. And now I definitely am entrenched for life. But Rivers is like the main reason why. And I think his legacy for that is always something I will cherish.
Yeah, rarely, and I definitely can't say it anymore because I'm older. I'm turning 30, but rarely can I say an athlete was a role model for me. But Philip Rivers was definitely that. Whether it's if you want to say like this comment here about like faith, family, and football, absolutely. The talking smack. I talked smack at my UCI flag football game, and I got a little bit in trouble for that. But you know what? It was fun, and it just comes out of me, and it must be the Philip Rivers. There's something that I do in a way that I talk sometimes where I kind of bring up my nostril in a certain way. That's what Philip Rivers does. There's just like, it's such a part of me in a way that maybe I'll never really quite understand, but there's just, I don't know. It's obviously he hasn't been a quarterback for the Chargers for a bit. So we've had moments like without him. So we know, thankfully life after Philip Rivers, well, it hasn't been great, but at least we have a quarterback, which is good.
That's the thing about the Chargers, man. We always got a quarterback.
yeah, and for better or worse, there is a quarterback, and by golly, we have some tackles this year. Thank goodness. But anybody in the chat right now or in the comments, if you're revisiting this, I'm definitely going to clip out like this because it's Philip Rivers. But what's like your favorite moment or story from him? I love the Sean Merriman story that he was like, you could hear someone walking down the hall, full on rapping the latest like hit or whatever's on the radio, and it's Philip Rivers. Like he knew bar for bar everything about that song. It's Philip Rivers. Like that's just, he's just awesome. So, and if you the bolo tie stuff, the win in Denver, obviously for us the last playoff win. Yeah, that game with the Ravens.
The finger point on the first down, iconic.
The whole game, everything was just awesome about that. But yeah, that specific finger point, aging Philip Rivers couldn't run for anything, but he could on that play. And for him to actually kind of realize that and just like do the finger point, we all know the Keenan noises. We know Geno Smith is in the background. Like we all know that play like the back of our hands.
Yeah.
And whatever your favorite moments are, drop them. I got to see him torch the defending Seahawks, champion Seahawks live. Yep. Him, Antonio Gates, throwback game. I could spend the next hour talking about those moments, but if you guys have one, let me know.
Yeah, I missed the Keenan Allen rookie season. That probably has a lot of fun ones for me.
Yeah.
The Cowboys game in Dallas for Thanksgiving is a little bit more about Keenan, but that was a fun Philip Rivers moment.
Sure.
Derwin highlighted the Steelers game from 2018. That's a great one. I mentioned the stuff with Jay Cutler when he was younger was definitely super fun to watch. Obviously the ACL, playing on torn ACL is iconic. So yeah, man, there's a ton of great Philip Rivers moments. We could spend hours talking about this, like you said. The video that the team put together of like the fans at camp talking about it.
That's awesome.
Great touch. Love that. So yeah, man, I'm gonna miss Phil. Obviously, his son is gonna be in college football probably for some team starting in like 2 years, which is crazy to me. So I'm excited to see what kind of college football, NFL football dad Philip Rivers is and see kind of what evolves there. But 2016 Bengals comeback, fantastic one. There's some great moments in there.
Yeah. Another one that's not a particular game, but I always just kind of thought it was fun that he always beat Eli Manning. He's 4-0.
Yeah.
Again, not that it's quarterback versus quarterback, but I was just looking up the stats. He had almost 1,000 passing yards and 11 touchdowns, passer rating of 114, only 2 picks, 4-0 against Eli Manning. You can kind of like, he probably wanted that a little bit.
Sure.
It was just clean sweep against Eli Manning. Tom Brady couldn't do it, but by golly, Philip Rivers could.
Yeah. Man, I'm gonna have to go back and look at some of the stuff. Eric Smith did an article talking about Philip Rivers' top 5 memories with the Chargers. Number 1 was the comeback win of 2018 at Arrowhead, and then there was another game of 2013 that he mentioned with Sehi Ajera-Tutu catching that one.
Oh yeah.
Oh, dude, the 2009 playoff win versus the Colts, that definitely is.
Yeah, I thought that would have been one.
That was second on his list. Third on his list was the Cincinnati comeback. Fourth on his list was the 2009 game against the Giants.
Yep.
Vincent Jackson touchdown, 2-minute drive.
Yep.
last one was 2013, the Denver Keenan Allen game where he jumped
Yeah.
up and scored that touchdown, which I've seen the highlight. I obviously did not get to watch that game, but those were Rivers' 5 choices.
Yeah, back when Deion Sanders was a post game, guy, not color commentator, but
that was one after the game where he was like, "I just love football," right?
yeah, he's like, I love football. They got it was just like, I got snakeskin boots and blah, 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 and all this sort of stuff. It's just a rattlesnake or whatever it is. Yeah, he was. It was the greatest any Chargers player has been on a microphone. It was just electric, and they won, and they beat the Broncos, and Keenan had his thing. It's just perfect.
Yeah, lots of stuff there. I didn't think we would talk about that for like 20 minutes, but we did. So
Philip Rivers, man,
that's our guy.
Mm-hmm.
You guys can definitely keep mentioning in the chat your favorite moments. You guys watching this, listening to this, tweet us your favorite moments, whatever. Like, we'll definitely engage in some Philip Rivers content.